Oh my gosh, we're into the second episode and already we are flooded with tears. This episode, we had to say goodbye to our number one fan favorite queen of all time. It pains me to say it. Adore Delano quit All Stars 2.
Oh my.
No! God! No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Bring back my all-stars.
So, yes, Adore Delano quit Drag Race, but we will get to that in just a moment. Let's just start off with last week. Coco Montrese was eliminated, and all the queens entered the workroom this week and were again discussing the new elimination format in which the top two queens lip sync for their legacy and then decide which of the bottom three queens should go home. Roxy eliminated Coco Montrese last week, and then all the girls asked Tatiana who she would have sent home as she was in the top two last week, and she actually would have sent Coco home as well. After the girls have their little opening talk like they do every episode, they all began talking about how harsh Michelle Visage was on Adore Delano last week. And I think most fans would agree that what they showed of her critique last week was really harsh and really beat down Adore. She pretty much criticized Adore for being who she is, which I think most people would agree took it way too far. The first few minutes, I just want to point out, what was with that tooth or whatever that was that Fifi O'Hara spit out? All the girls were talking everything and she's just like what the hell was that? Was that a flipper? So back to Adore. While the girls are all joking around and talking and being happy, she's sulking in the corner because, again, she's really upset about her critiques last week. She feels like she didn't realize what she was going into coming back. So RuPaul enters the workroom and tells all of the All-Stars that we are doing the first ever All-Stars Snatch Game. So far, they are just knocking it out of the park with this season. Last week, the challenge was fantastic. They did the Reading is Fundamental challenge, and now we're going into Snatch Game. I am loving this season so far. After RuPaul announces that they're doing Snatch Game, all the girls are deciding their characters. He comes back to the workroom, and the first girl he goes to is Adore. And his question, "Why are your eyes so red?" And then Adore goes right into it, saying he doesn't feel like he belongs there. It wasn't necessarily just Michelle's comments, but it's the fact that he's been going through his own struggles with people criticizing his aesthetic, and he doesn't really know how to handle it at this time. Initially, after RuPaul and Adore had their discussion, and RuPaul was doing whatever he could to convince Adore to stay, I thought that Adore had actually just officially quit the competition. But apparently, he also needed to talk to Michelle Visage in private, so that way she could convince him to stay as well. So he goes backstage, outside, talks to Michelle Visage, being the harsh but loving mom she is, was trying to convince her little baby Adore to stay, but unfortunately, It wasn't enough, and Adore decided to leave the competition. I am so pissed off because Reddit is ruining my life. Months ago, Reddit released all the spoilers for this season of All-Stars, and I think they've been doing it the past few seasons of Drag Race, and because people just love to brag about how they know what's going to happen, it's almost impossible to read a post on Facebook without finding out how the whole season's going to go. And unfortunately, I was one of those people that got exposed to it, so far everything they've been saying has been completely true. I'm not going to give away any spoilers throughout these recaps because I don't think that's fair to the people that like to be surprised. After Adore quits, RuPaul continues going throughout the workroom and asking all the girls who they're going to do for Snatch Game. After he talks to some of them and then leaves the workroom, Fifi O'Hara decides to revert back to her old ways. I thought she said she was changing, but I guess not. And tells Roxy Andrews, "You're Sofia Vergara. I just don't feel good about it." And watching Roxy Andrews talk to RuPaul and trying to convince him who she was, talking in her little Spanish accent, I wasn't really convinced by it either, but again, Fifi O'Hara is playing the game like she did in Season 4, and of course that messed with Roxy Andrews' head. She also went up to Alyssa Edwards and basically told her, "Your Joan Crawford is Alyssa. You don't sound like Joan Crawford, and you just sound like Alyssa in a black wig." Which, when I first saw that wig, I thought she was going to be like Betty Page or something. That did not look like a Joan Crawford wig. But going forward, onto Snatch Game, the guest judges were Rujubee, Raven, and Jujubee. I think that was totally a good idea. Absolutely loved it. They were very funny. They were just as funny as the queens in Snatch Game. In Snatch Game, we had Ginger Minj portraying Tammy Faye. We had Alaska playing Mae West. Katya was doing Bjork. Fifi O'Hara was doing Teresa Caputo. She's the Long Island medium. Alyssa Edwards was doing Joan Crawford. Detox, Nancy Grace. Tatiana was portraying Ariana Grande. And Roxy was Alaska. Let's just go over a couple of the queens that really stood out. I thought that Alaska just blew it out of the park. Am I going to say that every couple minutes? I swear, I feel like I've said that a ton in this recap.
Why don't you come on up and me in the ass sometime?
Alaska was fantastic. She had that little, "Oh, how you doing?" which was just absolutely hilarious. Katya as Bjork. It was flawless. She just absolutely killed it, and she played Bjork in season 7 when they had to do that. I think they had to like make outfits out of tape, I think it was, or something like that, and she wore the Bjork swan dress. So I was really excited to see her actually play like Bjork for an actual character rather than just dressing up as Bjork. Ginger Minj, they didn't show her a whole lot, but whatever they did show, I thought she was hilarious as Tammy Faye.
That is not a match, but a very, very good answer. It's a very good answer. You tried your best, darling.
The only critique I have of Ginger Minj's portrayal of Tammy Faye was that hair. To me, that was Ginger Minj hair. That was not Tammy Faye hair. She needs to go to Tammy Brown and borrow some of her wigs.
Honk, honk. Choo, choo, choo.
Alyssa Edwards as Joan Crawford. It did sound like Alyssa Edwards, so I guess Fifi O'Hara did get that right. However, she was very over the top, very eccentric, like Joan Crawford, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious.
This ain't my first time
Yes, at the where?
at the Snatch Game.
Detox as Nancy Grace.
We do have a DNA match, and that's coming up next after the commercial break. Thank you.
Okay.
She sounded more Jersey than Michelle Visage. Tatiana as Ariana Grande looked like she could be Ariana Grande's sister. I was like, holy shit.
Let's hear you sing to them. Huh.
Yeah, that performance was just like day and night compared to her Britney Spears performance in season 2 of Snatch Game, which is still today one of the best performances ever in Snatch Game. Fifi O'Hara as Teresa Caputo.
I got a gift.
Wow.
Don't mess up my hair, please.
It wasn't bad, but I think she just kept kind of relying on the whole psychic thing. Like, she just kept saying one thing after another relating to, oh, I already knew what you were going to say. Like, it just wasn't as creative as I thought it could be, but compared to her Lady Gaga in season 4, it was like a million miles better. But without a doubt, the worst performance in Snatch Game, Roxy Andrews. Because she was so affected by what Fifi O'Hara said about her not being very confident in her Sofia Vergara, she decided that at the last minute, she was going to portray Alaska. I think the only person that can play Alaska is Alaska. I remember when I met Alaska, granted I was really, really drunk, but I met her last summer and I asked her, I'm like, how many times a day do you say hi? And she looked at me and was like, 1,000. See, I can't even act like Alaska. No one can. After the Snatch Game was over, Jujubee flips her wig and...
Hallelujah, I'm back, Ru! Yes! Shangela!
And because Adore quit the competition, Shangela is now taking her place.
Girl, please.
Okay, calm down. That's a joke. But yeah, it was Shangela. Yay! So, onto the runway. This week's theme was latex, which I thought that was such a cool idea. All the girls were wearing these really tight latex outfits. As I said last week, I'm going to be picking my favorite look of the week and my least favorite look of the week. My Xanadu and my Xanadu. My Xanadu should come as no surprise to anyone who watched the episode. Absolutely 100% Detox. She came out in this red latex jumpsuit that had a nice deep plunging neckline. She had this awesome like gold chain hanging from her ear. She had the Hamburglar black eyes. It was just a flawless look. Her tuck was so tight. Everything about it was high fashion. This is probably one of my all-time favorite looks I've ever seen on RuPaul's Drag Race. My Xanadon't of the week, after thinking about it, it was definitely Fifi O'Hara. She came out in a latex swimsuit with a wig that was probably one that Katy Perry wore during one of her world tours. Very cheap looking. She was covered in like this heavy yellow jewelry. It just reminded me a lot of what she wore in her season. And I don't get why she isn't doing better. She's done so much better since being on the show last time. Like, you constantly see pictures of her online in drag, and she looks so much better than she's looking here in All Stars. So I really want to see her step it up. I do also want to point out a couple other looks that really impressed me. I really, really like Roxy's look. She had this long sleeved black latex dress, and she had this phenomenal padding, and I love the big, crazy 90s cage dancer hair. Alaska, she had this awesome, tight, black latex and these awesome gloves. I loved the asymmetrical cut, and like Detox, she had the little Hamburglar eyes, but it was a little bit different. To me, it was a little bit more fashiony than what Detoxes look like. I loved Alyssa Edwards' dress. It was like this awesome bright yellow with lips all over it. I wasn't crazy about the matching hair, like the big yellow afro, but overall it was a really cool look. Katya and her Esther Williams inspired latex was fantastic too. So after the runway show, they decided that the top 2 queens of the week were Alaska and Katya. The bottom 3 were Roxy, Tatiana, and get this, Detox. Okay, Detox's Nancy Grace was not that good, but her outfit was everything. Fifi O'Hara should have been there without a doubt. So, as RuPaul said last week, it will not be the judges deciding who is going home. It will be the top 2 queens of the week. So, while the judges were enjoying root beer floats, and Michelle looked like she was really enjoying that root beer float, they go backstage, and like last week, the top 2 queens kind of talk to each of the girls and figure out, you know, why should you be here? And I could watch Katya talk to these girls about why they should be there for days. She was hilarious. I loved it that she was asking Tatiana, why should you be America's Next Top Model? And then she's like tying her shoes and she's like, next! So the girls come back out on stage and Alaska and Katya lip sync to, I can't remember the name of the song. It's that, everyone's heard it. It's like that Les Freak, Les Chic, like that song. And they were both really good, but Alaska definitely stood out the most. She was like undoing her dress and she just looked like this like hot 80s power bitch when she was wearing her tight black skirt and her bra. They picked Alaska as the winner of the week and she got to decide which of the bottom three were going to go home. Prior to deciding who was going to go home, Tatiana was convinced that she was going to be the one that's eliminated because Detox and Roxy are a part of Rolaska Talks. But, as Alaska said, she is no longer a member of Rolaska Talks. However, she did decide that Tatiana should go home. I'm really bummed that Tatiana got sent home because I really like her as a queen. I think this was a great opportunity for her to show just how much she's learned since season 2. When she first came out with her latex look, I thought it was really good, but standing next to all the other queens, it definitely looked a little bit amateurish to me and a little costumey. But I still think that she should have stayed. And so just like last week with Coco, Tatiana does her little final interview and RuPaul pops up on the screen and says, "You have your chance to return." Maybe when they were filming this, there was no screen with RuPaul talking to the girls, because every time so far that he's done it, they look like they're acting so much. Like, I have a feeling the producers were like, okay, you're going to get the chance to come back, but we want you to act like you're talking to RuPaul on the TV screen. Because they just look like they're just like, wow, I get to come back? Like, it just looks, what the hell. So, I thought this episode was very bittersweet because Adore Delano got sent home. I'm so bummed about that. And I'm even more bummed that the Reddit spoilers are all true and Facebook users can't keep it to yourselves. But I'm really excited so far about this season. Thank you all so much for watching my video recap of this week's episode. Please subscribe to my channel, CJ Rambler, where you will find all things gay culture and, of course, RuPaul's Drag Race. Thank you all so much, and I will see you next week. Bye!